2, officially in the books. Lord, thank you. Gratitude for the power to overcome my pathetic urges today. Although it wasn't that bad. Really, this morning I was feeling a little groggy. I did oversleep. I didn't go to my 7:30 training, but sometimes that happens, baby. I still got it done. It's baby steps, day 2. We didn't expect strides. We just crawling. We just crawling. And anyone who's trying to overcome addiction, anyone who's trying to overcome cycles of addiction, realize that the first couple of days, the first couple of weeks, and depending on the addiction, maybe the first couple of months, we gotta take it slow. You gotta take it slow. You gotta just be patient. Patient, pass the time. Pass the time. Any way to pass the time when you're trying not to do certain things. You just do the dishes. Clean the house. Clean your room. Do some art. Draw. Write. Get down to the bottom of yourself. Watch some videos. Try to be doing something productive, Don't replace a bad habit with a bad habit, but sometimes you just gotta get through the moment. Sometimes there's 30 minutes of your life where it's like, in those 30 minutes, if you don't go do something else, you're gonna do the wrong thing. If you just sit and think about doing what you don't want to do, you're gonna probably do it. But if you go out and you do something, and you distract yourself for long enough, eventually it will pass. There's a saying, an old phrase in the Bible, resist the devil and he will flee from you. Resist temptation and it will leave you. It's all a test of will. And that is my little speech that I wanted to give right before I get into some juicy videos. We pursuing the knowledge once again. Once again, knowledge. Knowledge. Knowledge, so tasty. End of spine surgery. Got him. I had spine surgery, dog. I'm reinforced over here. I'm like Conor McGregor. I got titanium rods in my back, dog. I'm like a robot. In a way. Not interested. Not interested right now. Okay, now that's fascinating. Bro, look at these news headlines that I get. Look at these headlines, bro. Not to get all political. Not to get political, dog, but look at this. Look at breaking news. Trump directly attacks moderator at the start of Q&A at Black journalist event. What even is that? A black journalist event? Why are we making journalist events based on color? Let's see.
Congresswoman of color.
Let's see what they show.
Hour of your time. Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former
A lot of people.
President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist.
What if the questions were stupid and racist? Then what? I don't know the questions. I wish you would give examples.
You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that, and let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invite.
He said, I don't know why you would do that. She did that because her bosses said, hey, you're going to get a real nice payday if you make sure to ask questions framed in a way that make him look bad. There was no way he could answer that question. There's no way he could answer that question. The media machine said, hey, yo, ask Trump this question so that I can put on Forbes breaking news. Breaking news. Trump directly attacks moderator at start of Q&A at black journalist event. This is for you, black people. They're trying to say to you that you're dumb, is what they're trying to do. They're saying this is breaking news right here. This is breaking news. This is the news that is breaking. Trump directly attacks moderator at start of Q&A. But you know what's crazy? Is you could really put breaking news, moderator directly attacks Trump at start of Q&A at black journalist event, and it would be more true than this headline. And wow, what did I say? Trump directly attacks you mean the moderator attacked Trump with a bunch of lies and distraction? Bro, do you see this? And bro, look at this. And I'm really convinced, dog, that some of these channels are intentionally making like bot comments to support. Because if you really don't see through this facade, if you don't see how things are falling apart in America, how Biden and Kamala do not care about you, whether you're black, white, it doesn't matter. They do not care about you, bro. It's all ego, bro. They just want to be in power, bro, and they're being used, and at worst, they know what's going on, and they're really leading you to the slaughter. But, it's wild. But I didn't want to get political, bro. Like, I just, YouTube be suggesting things, and now I gotta, you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you don't. The American people deserve better. This chick, nothing I saw, everything I've seen about this woman before she was decided to be the next president is that she was retarded. That she's not very eloquent, that she's not good at speaking, and she's an embarrassment, and she wasn't a good vice president, and they want to run her as president. But do you want to know why they want to run Kamala as president? It's not because they want Kamala to be president. It's because they want to keep the administration in power. The people in charge of Biden and Kamala, that's right, Biden and Kamala are not your leaders, and that's what Trump really needs to say. These are puppet leaders. These are faux leaders. These are leaders who are bought and paid for by corporate elitists. And they're going to lead you to slaughter, bro. They really will. And you're going to feel real foolish. Real foolish when you realize that these people didn't care about you and Trump didn't really hate you and yeah, you hated him and you loved her. Of course, I don't even really believe a lot of stuff going on, man. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, cousin. Alright, let's see what we got on the watch later, place. Let's see it. A little bit of knowledge. You already know what time it is.
Guess I won't be making my famous burgers.
Flexibility. And we're talking about whether or not sitting is
Double
really,
the
really
speed.
bad for you.
Double
and
the
whether it's gonna turn you into a
knowledge.
really stiff mess in the long run. So I'm here with Dr. Garrett G. Money, a physical therapist, who has a lot of experience being a stiff, inflexible person, right? Correct. All right. So let's talk about this. We're sitting. Is this going to make us less flexible tomorrow or today?
I think you just lost all of your flexibility gains just in the 5 minutes you've been sitting now.
Yeah, I've been feeling stiff.
Yeah. It's over for you. Don't even try to get flexible now because you have a desk job
Right.
and
I have to
you
do a lot.
produce a lot of content and editing.
Yep.
Why even try? You're just going to be washing away all of your flexibility gains.
That's pretty depressing.
It is.
But you're a doctor, so I trust your opinion, so I'm going to give up.
Well, I'm also somebody who works at a desk a lot. You know, I do a lot of paperwork, being a physical therapist, and also online training. I'm writing a lot of programs. Yet I'm almost at the splits. You know, like I've made consistent flexibility progress year after year.
Is that because you're a genetic freak, you're gifted, and you're like in ballet and stuff as a kid?
No, it's because I actually work on my flexibility. I think there's nothing wrong with sitting throughout the day at all. Sitting gets lumped in with people who just don't have time to actually train toward their goals in the first place. So they don't get flexible because they don't train their flexibility. They don't have.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think sitting for long periods of time is definitely bad for you. Just because you do sit for long periods of time doesn't mean that you couldn't be flexible. Maybe you still could be, but that doesn't mean that sitting is not bad for you. I do think sitting is bad for you. It's not a natural position. I mean, I'll explain right now. When in nature, we're all about nature here. So when in nature, am I going to be like this? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a very unnatural position. So to be in this position for freaking all day from the age of 5 to death, I mean, dog, it's not good for you, but let's
Have the
keep
time and
going.
energy to put into training the flexibility.
So if I'm sitting at the computer for 8 to 10 hours a day, you believe that if I train correctly and with intention, I can still get flexible.
Yeah, over time, you know, the ranges that you train will just be there, and those will be your ranges. So even after sitting, you'll be able to display those ranges.
So then why is it that when I sit for 4 hours and I go to get up, I feel stiff? Isn't that me getting inflexible and I'm losing flexibility?
Correct, but you know, if sitting was so bad to the point where it's going to wash away all of our flexibility gains, then we might as well not sleep, or we might as well sleep hanging or in a deep squat or something like that.
Like that's
Exactly, yeah, in full traction of the spine.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we sleep every night, you know, 7 to 9 hours or whatever, and we're stuck in this fetal position like we are sitting. You know, people still get flexible there. So are we going to tell people that sleeping's bad? No, sleeping is extremely important.
So sleeping is not the new smoking.
No, I hope not. I don't think sitting was ever the smoking. I think the smoking was the smoking,
Okay, smoking
and
was
not
the-
being healthy. So I think what you're experiencing there for 4 hours of sitting, feeling stiff, that's just prolonged position. You know, if I do any prolonged posture for 4 hours, I'm going to be feeling stiff in the opposing postures. You know, I could stand for an hour or go on a 2-hour walk. It's probably going to feel pretty stiff to flex my spine and round forward because, you know, my spinal erector muscles are keeping me upright the entire time. If I sit for 3 hours, it's probably going to feel pretty stiff to extend my hip behind me. But that's okay. You know, we warm up, we just undo the motions with a few dynamic stretches just to feel good if that's what we want. If we want to just feel good, get the blood going, maybe go on a little walk, do some bodyweight squats, some lunges, just get the body moving in the opposing directions that you were in that posture. Yeah, you'll be right back to your normal set point, your reset point.
So then if I am sitting for a long period, not a bad idea to be doing things that go in the opposite of what I'm normally stuck in. And if I still want to be more flexible and expand my overall range of motion, then I need to actually do focused flexibility training.
Yeah, as long as you have dedicated sessions of flexibility training throughout the week programmed into your life, then it shouldn't hinder your progress at all.
So then, what about like pain? Like if I have
Shouldn't
pain, like I have to sit
hinder
for
your
8 to 10 hours a day,
progress
my hips
at
hurt.
all.
Do I need to get up?
False. Look, sure, it might not make it impossible for you to progress, but to say it won't hinder your progress, it's like, I don't know if I agree. Now this guy, he might be right, but I hypothesize that there's levels of speed to flexibility. You can get more flexible faster if you're never in the wrong postures. If you're consistently working towards the optimal posture of the splits, then you're going to get it faster. And that does not include sitting in chairs, at least not in the traditional way.
If it's
My
stretch, what's the advice?
hypothesis.
Yeah, so I mean that is a common thing. You know, people who spend time in prolonged postures, that often exacerbates their pain presentations, whether it's low back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, just that constant static posture. It almost like overemphasizes pain, where they focus more on that pain because they're just staying stagnant. So in that case, I do find it is beneficial to stay moving because you don't want to just be uncomfortable sitting there and just fidgeting around. You want to do things that feel good more often for pain presentations. And most like
Pain. Pain is knowledge. Pain is information. Pain is trying to get you to a destination. When you do the wrong thing, you experience pain. When you sit in chairs for long periods of time, the wrong thing, you experience pain because it's not a natural posture.
if you're in pretty intense pain to where like prolonged postures, maybe even sitting for 5, 10, 20 minutes already causes pain, then it probably means you're not able to exercise intensely anyways. So in that case, it could be more beneficial to have more frequent bouts of exercise or stretching to relieve some of that stiffness.
Yeah, and I asked that because that was my own personal experience many, many years ago, and then I let myself go for too many months or weeks, and my hips start to just feel like they're getting weaker and weaker and unstable when I sit. Ooh,
Yeah.
it's not good. I gotta get up, take breaks, start doing exactly what you're talking about, just more frequent activation, maybe not as intense, but at least getting blood pumping through there. So I guess another question is, if we're gonna sit for 8 to 10, 12, 16 hours a day and not do any sort of dedicated flexibility training, any sort of physical training, what's the end result?
Then your body's just going to adapt to the position that you spend the most time in, which is this slumped posture.
Okay.
And also your range of motion that you can display on a day-to-day basis is going to reflect what you constantly hang out in. But you know, if I do sit 8 to 10 hours a day for work or whatnot, or I drive often, and I do expose my end ranges of motion frequently and weekly, maybe I have a little daily practice where I get into some end range positions, maybe not necessarily trying to expand my flexibility, but just trying to kind of feel a little bit better and move through my end ranges. And then maybe I have some time throughout the week where I actually train those ranges of motion hard. Yeah, then the sitting you do throughout the day is not going to have any effect. Just as sleeping for 8 hours a day isn't going to have any effect on your progress.
Right.
In fact, sitting could be a good form of rest. There's so many people who do their exercise and they just like overdo things throughout the day, and they're just under recovering. So it's a good form of rest. Just if you want to not feel stiff all day, break up your sitting with some little movement breaks.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. I recently started getting training programs from Garrett, and on some of the days when I'm doing lower body, I'll finish in the morning, I have a sit-stand desk, and with every intention I go to the desk at standing mode, and I'll be like, I really don't think I'm going to get much work done standing because I'm really uncomfortable right now, and my body's tired, and I guess I'm sitting for the next hour or so. And that hasn't had any real deleterious effect on the results of my training.
Ergonomics, like sitting in your mid-ranges is a very efficient position to get work done. Like it's comfortable. Like you can hang out here. There's so many people that are like, these primal people, nothing wrong with them. I think it's great spending more time on the floor, but they're like, oh, you should do all your computer work, in a deep squat. How long can you last it? Like maybe after 2 minutes, you're just like fidgeting around, you have to move positions. Like how can you actually focus and do deep work in this position? When I'm in a deep squat, I want to focus on, improving my deep squat and using this as a position to get flexible. But when I'm working, I want to get my work done as efficiently as possible.
That makes
That's
sense.
a decent
I wonder if
point.
people in Asia could do this. Though.
Yeah, that's a different story. They're built for that. And maybe you want to work up to
This right here, the greatest detective of all time, fictional. But look at how he stands or sits. It's no coinky dink.
a point where you can sit in a squat and work for an hour.
Do you think you could, what's the longest you think you could work in a deep squat?
Probably 3 minutes.
3 minutes? All right. So, just enough to watch some YouTube videos and get distracted. Okay, so I think that just about covers anything. Do you want to add anything to this whole debate about sitting?
Hi, I'm Adam, and I made an appointment with Lifeline Screening to get my arteries examined for plaque buildup,
You know, there's some
so I can
truth to that.
understand my risk for stroke and
I'm willing to
cardiovascular.
take the L on that.
Good, bad, whatever?
I don't think so. I think sitting is perfectly fine as long as you are training your range of motion throughout the week and maybe on a day-to-day basis, just kind of doing exercises to feel good and break up the sitting.
And if you're in pain, move more.
Move more.
Move
And
more.
you know, hey, stretching might not be the fix for your pain,
Right.
even though people think stretching is the fix for everything. You could need other things if you're in pain, but that's outside of the scope of this video.
Yeah.
Other than that,
No,
sitting is fine.
Yep.
Should I be in a squat right now?
Probably, or expressing some other part of your range of motion. Maybe a middle splits.
Middle split, okay.
I've heard actually that the middle split is the best, most ergonomic position to do work in. So,
Yeah, the fact that you guys aren't doing your work in splits.
I think get a splits training machine while I'm typing.
There you
and
go.
editing this. All right, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time. So what did you learn from this video, and are you doing the middle splits while you're working right now? Drop me a comment down below, and if you have more questions, be sure to leave them down in the comment section. If you want to find more of G-Money, this Dr. Garrett guy, be sure to check out the description box for links to find him all across social media and on YouTube. He's got amazing content, especially if you're somebody who's dealing with hip pain and you're trying to make your hips more flexible. If you're a stiff, highly active athlete, I highly recommend checking out his stuff, including his 4-week program, which you'll find on his website. Again, that's going to be linked down below. And speaking of programs, if you're not a super active athlete, I've got something that could be a really good fit for you. If you do sit all day and you're looking for a program to help you get your hips feeling better, be sure to check out the Healthy Hips program, which you'll find at uprighthealth.com/DIY. For more free videos on YouTube to help you with your hips, be sure to check these out right here. Like, share, and subscribe with the bell notification on. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks. Life should.
Alright.
America に行ってみて、なんかカルチャーショックありましたか？行くためにとアメリカのノーストラリアに行きました。
When I tell Japanese people I'm from the USA, usually people are like,
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Takashi from Japan. So today I'm going to interview Japanese people. How do Japanese see the United States? And at the end of this video, I'm going to give my opinion towards the United States Americans. So please watch until the end. Okay, let's get started. アメリカは好きですか？
好きです。
なんでどうして？
よく好きで映画とか、アメリカの映画とか、アメリカのアーティストの曲とかよく聞くんで好きです。
好きなアメリカの映画は？
ウルフ・オブ・ウォール・ストリート。
好きなアーティストアメリカの？
フューチャー、ヒップホップ、ヒップホップ聞きますね。
なるほど。じゃあアメリカ人に対してどういう風なイメージありますか？普通のアメリカ人、映画とか音楽とかじゃない普通のアメリカ人に対してどういうイメージありますか？
あんまり周りの目を気にしないイメージがありますね。日本人って何か行動するときに周りの目の判断基準に入れたり、
Isn't it funny how Japan's falling apart and they also consume our media? They consume our entertainment. It's funny.
周りの目っていうよりかは自分がどう思うかでやっぱ行動選択をしてるイメージがあるんで、
アメリカに行くとしたらどこ行きたいですか？
ロサンゼルス行きたいですね。ロサンゼルス行きたいです。ハリウッド、映画好きなんでハリウッド行っていろいろ街見て回りたいですし、自分サーフィンやるんでサーフィンやベニスビーチとか行っていろいろカリフォルニアで合法なもの吸ってみたりしていろいろ遊びたいです。
これアメリカ人いっぱい見てるんですけど、アメリカ人何か言いたいことありますか？
I love you. I love American.
You love America.
I love American. You love American?
It's out of my sight, man. That's a succubus right now.
アメリカのどういうイメージありますか？アメリカは。
なんかおおらかな人が多い。明るい人が多い。ね、自由そう。
自由そう
本当にそう。毎日
アメリカに行くとしたらなんか何したいとかどこに行ってみたいとか。
ディズニーランド行きたいです。ああね。一番はマーベルヒーローとかが好きなので。そうなんですよ。自分が好きなので。
アメリカ人で有名な人誰か知ってますか？
見てる人だと思うんですけど、アメリカの人なのかがわかんない。わかんない。
多分あれですよね。日本人はアメリカ人かどうかというよりもなんか欧米人かどうか、なんか白人かどうかとかそこで確かに。
わかんない。
じゃあアメリカ人が分からない人言ってみてください。
イーロンマスク。わかんないです。
イーロンマスク言った。イーロンマスクアメリカン？あ、違う。南アフリカ。
トム・ホランド。誰？
あ
トム・ホランド。スパイダーマン。
彼はイギリス人ですね。確かに。アメリカのネガティブなイメージありますか？
医療費が高いイメージ。なんか救急車とかあんまり呼べないって聞くので、日本人だからもしかしたら差別されるかもしれないかなって。
アジア人差別みたいな。それはどうしてそう思いますか？メディアとかで見てるとか、なんか話を聞いたとか、どうしてそう？
なんか高校の時の担任が留学経験があって、そういう差別を受けたっていう話を聞いたんで、やっぱりあるんやみたいな思って。
なるほど、なるほど。確かにそれはアジア人の僕たちからしたら、アメリカじゃなくて、もう欧米どこの国に行っても、そういう加わりですね。アメリカ、どういう国だと思いますか？
でも結構面白そうで、結構みんなウェルカムに迎えてくれそうなんですけど、ちょっと怖いっていう印象もありますね。友達とかから聞く話で、なんか物盗まれやすいよとかたまに聞くんで、そうなるとちょっと日本より怖い国なのかなと思っちゃいます。なんかスケボーのビデオとか見てても、アメリカの人の方が上手いなって感じるし、やっぱかっこよさが日本人と違って、そこに惹かれます。
アメリカ人にはどういう印象を持ってますか？どういう人が多いと思いますか？日本人と比べて。
なんか笑顔で迎えてくれてて、結構日本人はちょっと厳しい人とかも多い感じのイメージを持ってるけど、
アメリカについてどういうイメージがありますか？
自由。自由。
自由。
自分の意見とかはちゃんと主張できる。そこが日本人とは違うところなイメージが。
自分の意見を言うのは難しいと思いますか？日本と。
難しくはないと思います。
難しくない。
難しくないと思うけど、多分言わない人の方が多いと思います。
なるほど。自分たちは言うタイプですか？それとも言わないタイプですか？
私は言います。
言う。どうですか？
私は多分顔色を伺っちゃうタイプ。
なるほど。君たちどうですか？自分のアメリカに対してのあれは好きですか？好き？
好きです。ロスとハワイに行ったことがあって、めっちゃ楽しかったっていう。
アメリカに行ってみて、なんかカルチャーショックはありましたか？
チックかな。いくら渡せばいいか全然わからないし、とジャスティンの奥さんがめっちゃ好きで、それだけじゃなくてでもなんか人柄が好き、向こうの人のなんか自由な感じで、なんか人生楽しんでる感じがめっちゃ好きです。
なんかジャスティンとヘイリーがよく東京来てる。めっちゃ来てるですね。
会いたかったです。
アメリカに行くとしたらどこ行きたいですか？次行くとしたらどこ次行きたいですか？
私はでもハリウッド行きたい。
なんでロサンゼルスが好きですか？ニューヨークより。
で、わか
行ってみたいと思いますか？どうして？
行ってる人多いじゃないですか、ロサンゼルスって。あ、いいなとか思うんで。
なるほど。
次はニューヨーク行ってみたい。 真逆だと思っていて、ロスとニューヨークって。自由な感じとはまた真逆のバリバリ働いてる人とかめちゃめちゃおしゃれな人とかいるのかな、ニューヨークのイメージ。
アメリカについてどう思いますか？
アメリカについて、すごいいろんな人がいる国だなって思います。一回ニューヨーク行ったことあるんですけど、いろんなカフェにもいろんな人種の人がいて、多種多様な国かな。私大学で英文専攻してたんですけど、特になんか本当にアメリカに憧れを持っている子がすごい多かったかなって。アメリカイコールかっこいいみたいな、そういう生まれ込まれちゃってるからみたいなので憧れを持っている子が多いのかなって思います。
それは自分は持ってないです。それとも自分持ってるか？アメリカに対して。
アメリカに対してはないですね。
どうして他の周りの女性、女の子たちが持ってるけど自分は持ってないと思うんですか？
私がそもそも育った環境が結構なんか中国なんだけど、中国の国際学校で海外がいいみたいな、アメリカがかっこいいみたいな感覚はなくて、それぞれ国にいいところも悪いところもあるから、それで全然私は、それ憧れも持ってていいと思うんですけど、私は大丈夫って感じ。
アメリカのこと好きですか？それ大好き。
大好き。
何大好き？行ったことありますか？
あります。
どこに？
どこ？ニューヨーク、LA、ハワイとか？私はサンディエゴ、サンフランシスコ。
どうして好きですか？アメリカ。シンプルに。どういう部分？人が好きなのか、文化が好きなのかとか、なんかいろいろあるじゃないですか。
地域によってもあると思うんですけど、地域によっては人もすごい素敵だなって思うし、オープンなそのカルチャーがいいと思います。
なるほど。
で私もなんか自由に生きてる感じが日本人はなんか恥ずかしがったりとか日本人するじゃないですか。でもそれがないから大好き。映画とかの舞台になるのがアメリカとかが多いから憧れ、日本人からしたら憧れの国みたいな。
例えばどの映画好きですか？アメリカの。
スパイダーマン。
なるほど。僕も大好きですね。
アメリカ人が日本に多いと思うし、国としてのつながりもアメリカと近いので行きやすい、情報も多いみたいなところ。
アメリカの都市の中ではどこが一番好きでした？
サンディエゴ。私はニューヨーク。
東京とニューヨーク両方ともビッグシティじゃないですか。何が違うと思います？
規模が一番。
ニューヨークの方が大きかった。
ビルの高さだったりとか。
確かに日本はあれ作れないですもんね。細長いペンシルタワーみたいな自信があるから多分。アメリカ好きってことなんですけど、じゃあアメリカに住めますか？自分は。
住みたい。
お
住みたい。私たちはもっと住みたい。
逆になんで住まないんです今は？仕事とかそういうのですか？
いや、現実的にお金とか。
確かに。
で花粉がまずない。天候とかも全部含めてやっぱり観光とかだったらニューヨークが好きだけど、私も住むならサンディエゴの西海岸かハワイ。やっぱ住みやすい。日本人も多いし。
一番好きなアメリカ人教えてください。セレブリティでも歌手でも何でも大丈夫です。
はい、ハナモンタラ。マイリーサイラス、ハナモンタラ、マイリーサイラス。
マイリーサイラス。マイリーサイラス。なんかハナモンタラ誰？
役名なんか。ディズニーチャンネルのテレナゴミス。
Before we continue interviews, this video is sponsored by Tokyo Tree and Sakurako. Sakurako is a subscription service where you receive a monthly box filled with traditional, authentic, and accent Christmas. I'm enjoying this month's box because Christmas is actually a big thing in Japan too, and I'm glad I'm spending holidays with you.
トリプルナーシップ、日本語でいう起業家精神を学びに行くためにアメリカのノースカロライナに行きました。で、アメリカってスタートアップとかユニコーンの数が世界で一番多かったりとか、あとノースカロライナはなんか第二のシリコンバレーと呼ばれる地域があって、なんかアメリカでどうやってスタートアップ企業が成長していくのかみたいなところを学びに行くためにアメリカに行きました。
行く前のイメージと行った後のイメージ、カルチャーショックとか含めてどうでした？
そうですね。
Creating a website can be complex. Choose Hostinger, a simpler place to host your WordPress site.
もちろんなんかアメリカ人って僕たちってそうですね、明るいイメージをめっちゃ持ってると思うんですけど、なんかそうですね、想像以上にフレンドリーだったり、全員がポジティブだったり、そういう面でめちゃめちゃ僕自身もなんかよりポジティブになったりとか、よりフレンドリーになったなっていう感覚がめちゃめちゃあります。
じゃあ逆にネガティブな部分は想像してなかったネガティブな部分。
やっぱり安全、日本に比べるとかなり、ちょっとデンジャラス、ちょっと危険かなとは思いますね。
それは個人的に何か経験したっていうことですか？
個人単位で言うとあまりそういう経験をしてないんですけど、やっぱりその、周りで銃撃事件があったとか、やっぱり殺人事件があったとか、夜中とか一人でやっぱアメリカで歩けないんですけど、日本にいたら夜中一人で歩くと結構するじゃないですか。思ったより治安みたいなところは思ったより悪かったのかなと思います。経済格差みたいなところは思ったより大きいかなとは思いましたね。やっぱりアメリカって、世界一の経済大国ですし、めちゃめちゃお金を持っている人もやっぱ多いんですけど、普通のそこら辺のストリート見てみると、いっぱいホームレスの方がいたりとか、あまり経済的に豊かじゃない人の差は、日本より格段に大きいなと思いましたね。
どうして日本人がアメリカのことが好きなのかっていう、僕もそれは思ってるんですけど、それについてどう思いますか？アメリカ好きですか？
もちろん僕はアメリカに留学するぐらいアメリカ大好きですね。そうですね、アメリカを好きな人はめちゃめちゃ多いと思いますね。実際、なんかアメリカのカルチャーがもう日本に結構浸透してるっていうのは大きいのかなと思ってて、例えば日本の映画館に行くと、多分半分かもしかしたらそれ以上ぐらいアメリカの映画だと思うんですよね。しかも、アメリカ、僕自身も洋楽、アメリカの音楽めちゃめちゃ聴きますし、アメリカ人の英語はすんなり聞き取れるんですけど、例えば、ブリティッシュアクセントのイギリス人とかオーストラリア人の方とか、他インドとか、結構聞き取りづらいなっていう感じることがあって、その多分理由としては、僕らがアメリカの音楽、映画とかばっかりを見て育ってきてるので、学校教育でも基本的にアメリカの発音をベースに教育されると思うので、そういう意味でアメリカのカルチャーに自分自身染まってたんだなっていうのを自覚しましたね。
アメリカにもう一回住みたいとかって思いますか？それとも日本がいいとか？
めちゃめちゃ難しい質問なんですけど、日本かなっていうのが正直なところです。めちゃめちゃアメリカ好きで住むのも楽しかったんですけど、便利さとか安全性の面で言うと、例えば東京だとどこに行くにも、電車を使えば別に車がなくてもどこにも行けますし、そこら辺にコンビニエンスとかもありますし、あと安全性で言うと日本ってやっぱ世界一安全な国の一つだと思うので、そういう意味でやっぱ日本は素晴らしい国だなと思いますけど、やっぱアメリカも大好きです。
たまに旅行とか行ったりとか。
そうですね、旅行で行くとか、例えば1年の留学とか、割と短期間の滞在とかはめちゃめちゃ楽しめるんじゃないかなと。
じゃあアメリカ旅行一周回ってみたらどこが一番良かったんですか？
難しいんですけど、ラスベガスですかね。なんかもう人が無理やり作り上げた街みたいな。ラスベガスってめっちゃ周り砂漠じゃないですか。なのに、ラスベガス着いた瞬間、めちゃめちゃ大きい建物とか、カジノとかホテルとか、もう人が頑張って集まって、無理やり街を作り上げたっていう感じが、人の力すげえなって感じました。
Okay, thank you for your time. Could you introduce your background?
My name's Max. I'm from the United States, North Carolina. My mom's Japanese, and I've been living in Japan for almost 10 years.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you about how Japanese people see United States, Americans, how Americans see Japan, in general. So when you say you're from the States, or when you say you're half American to the Japanese people, how do they react? What's their impression?
When I tell Japanese people I'm from the USA, usually people are like, "Oh, America, nice." Like Japanese people's general impression of America is very free. The country's too free. Yeah, there's a lot of problems, but in general, the entertainment industry, of course, everyone watches American movies, everyone watches American TV shows. So in general, young to old, I think the general impression of America is pretty good, and it's a fun place. place to be.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, especially when I go abroad, outside of Japan, let's say Europe. The impression towards the United States from the people in Europe or from the people in Japan are completely different. That was my culture shock when I went to Europe. Not everyone loves the States.
I always say like everything goes back to either the Edo period or the war, like World War II. So in this case, I think it goes back to World War II. Japan lost the war. Obviously, I think people probably didn't like America at the time, but after that, America, like over decades, kind of helped Japan come back and build up. American culture spread worldwide, and Japan gets all of this culture, and they like it. I mean, it's pretty fun, like entertainment, sports. Basketball is huge because of the United States and Japan. I think the reason maybe why Europeans don't like America as much as like Japanese people is because Europeans actually can speak English on a more general level. The news that they might see, the cool side of America, is only shown to Japan. But Europeans can like see the cool side and be like, there's all this like really dumb stuff America does. Their education's bad. So I think Europeans, just in general, because they can speak English, they can kind of see all the bad parts of America better than a Japanese person.
So what are the similarities and differences between Japan and the States?
So one thing that's very similar to me is the perspective people have. Japanese people's perspective of American culture is it's like a movie, it's like a Hollywood movie, it's like a TV show. Americans' current perspective, younger Americans, look at Japan like it's an anime, you live in an anime world, and I just want to say both are correct. Japan is an anime and America is a movie. So I think the similarities is like, I'm joking here, but the similarities are in, anime, the similarities between American movies and American culture is there, so pretty same like that.
Okay, thanks for watching so far. How was it? That was interesting. Me personally, I do like the United States. I was supposed to study abroad in Los Angeles, but something happened in the world. I couldn't make it. I studied English and American literature, wrote final thesis about 20th century American history. Of course, there are some good points and bad points of the country. I'm going there in January. I'm going to San Francisco, Texas, Chicago, Miami, New York, Baltimore, and Philadelphia, or maybe around East Coast around there. So if you have any recommendation to do there, please let me know in the comments. Okay, anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like button. Please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions you want me to ask people in Japan, please leave a comment too. See you next time.
Do you like having a P.O. box but are tired of wasting time and money driving to the post office?
Do you know the signs that you're getting closer to God? Number one, whenever you sin or even get the thought of sinning, it feels uncomfortable. Or maybe you feel guilty after making a mistake. That's a good thing. It means God's and Holy Spirit is working in your heart, guiding you on the right path. He wants you to be the best version of yourself. Having guilt after you sin isn't a bad thing. Number two is when you find less interest in sinful activities. Maybe you used to enjoy things that don't seem so appealing anymore. That's because your values are changing. As you get closer to God, your desires shift towards things that align with His teachings. The worldly activities in those environments don't interest you anymore. It feels uncomfortable and awkward when you're in that environment. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good character." Now the third sign that you're getting closer to God than you think, and this one's from personal experience, is when your conversations feel less fulfilling. Sometimes, as you grow closer to God, you might find conversations with certain people feel less interesting. It doesn't mean you're better than them, just that you're on different paths. Your priorities and interests might be changing. Romans 1:22 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Does this mean you can't interact with everyone you meet, or that you have to cut off all your friends who don't follow Christ? No. Following God doesn't mean we're perfect. We all sin and fall short of God's glory. God calls us to love one another because we are all brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of God. So be kind to everyone and be open to planting the seed. Number 4 is feeling peace, even in difficult times. Do you ever feel a calmness inside even when things are tough? That peace comes from trusting God. It's knowing He's always there for you no matter what. Remember, following God doesn't mean being perfect. We all make mistakes. God wants us to love everyone because we're all part of His family. Be kind, patient, and show the love of Christ in your everyday life.
They don't get flexible because they don't train their flexibility. Sitting could be a good form of rest. You want to not feel stiff all day. Break up your sitting.
If I'm sitting at the computer for 8 to 10 hours a day, you believe if I train correctly, I can still get flexible. Today we're talking about whether sitting will stop you from improving your hip flexibility. We're talking about whether or not sitting is really, really bad for you and whether it's going to turn you into a really stiff mess in the long run. So I'm here with Dr. Garrett G. Money, physical therapist.
Where are the most religious places in the world? You might say the Vatican in Rome, the Western Wall in Jerusalem, or Mecca in Saudi Arabia, but you probably don't think of anywhere in Japan. But walking around the city, I was surprised to learn how religious Japan really is. There's a difference between being religious and having saving faith. And the truth is that the reason Japan is so hard to reach with the gospel is because they believe so hard in something else. And that belief isn't just a matter of spirituality, it's directly linked to their cultural identity. And I want to understand it. Okay, before we go any further, let's talk about Shintoism. Most Japanese people identify in some way with both Buddhism and Shintoism. But while Buddhism isn't indigenous to Japan, Shintoism is very Japanese at its origin, and its roots go back to the beginning of Japanese culture. So what exactly is it? Well, I'm at a Shinto shrine to find out.
Wow, I just built the most amazing workflow on Monday.com.
You build your own workflow? Why?
This is called a tori, and it's how you know you're standing just outside a Shinto shrine. Shintoism is actually hard to define. It doesn't have a founder or a set of sacred scriptures or a fixed dogma that's easy to pin down. There's no concept of ritual sin, and there aren't weekly worship services at a Shinto shrine. People come and go whenever they want, whether that's every day or a couple times a year. But the basic idea is rooted in devotion to kami. In Shintoism, kami are spirits or forces connected with the natural world. There's this idea that sacred spirits take form in nature, in wind or rain or mountains or rivers, and that certain animals serve as messengers for kami or stand guard against evil spirits. And Shintoism says that humans can communicate with kami, and that's why they come to a shrine like this, to pay respects or ask for help with something like good health or a good job or even good results on exams. When people come into the grounds, they wash their hands and mouth at a basin as part of a purification ritual. Then at the main hall, they throw a few coins into an offering box, then bow at a slight angle and pray. A lot of Japanese families even keep little Shinto altars in their homes, often right next to a small Buddhist altar. The two religions coexist in Japan, a lot of times literally side by side. Shintoism has played a huge part in Japan's history and cultural identity, and even if a lot of Japanese people aren't really devoted to Shintoism at a deeper level, they often still see it as a part of being Japanese. For many, it has less to do with trying to be connected to the spiritual world, and more to do with being connected to their cultural heritage and national identity. That's what makes it so hard for many people to embrace the good news that there's actually only one true God that they can know personally through Jesus. But there's another major religion in Japan you should know about: Buddhism. Even though it didn't begin in Japan, Buddhism is the most prominent religion here. About 70% of the Japanese population claim some connection to Buddhism. It's huge here. So what does it actually look like? Well, I'll explain in a second, but first, a quick tour. This is Gaminari Gate. It's one of the entrances, and it means Thunder Gate. This is the marketplace. It's been here for centuries. It stretches 200 meters, and you can find anything. Kimonos, art, snacks, anything. This is a giant bronze incense burner. People come from all over to burn pink sticks and wave and smoke over their clothes for good luck. But this is the main attraction, the 5-story pagoda and main hall of the Sensoji Temple, beautifully and intricately made. Sensoji Temple is the oldest temple site in Tokyo, and it's been rebuilt a bunch of times since its founding in the 600s. And as is the case with most historical religious sites, it's now part tourist attraction, part market. But why is this place so significant? Well, it's complicated. For many, Buddhism is closely tied to Japanese identity. And that makes it hard to imagine rejecting it. Even if it's not really a part of everyday life, leaving Buddhism can strain or even break family ties. One missionary said, to be Japanese means one is Buddhist and Shintoist. It's an inseparable part of the culture. But even though most Japanese people embrace some form of Shintoism or Buddhism in their lives, these, or really any religious belief, is reportedly in decline. And today, anywhere from 30 to 39% of the population identify as convinced atheists. Some surveys even report that up to 70% of people don't truly follow any religion. It's complex when cultural and traditional and religious beliefs are all mixed together, but functionally, some consider Japan the most religious and atheist country in the world. So where does that leave Christians? How do we talk with Japanese people about the gospel? Where can you even find Christians in Japan?
I was born and grew up in Kanagawa, which is next to Tokyo, and when I was a high school student, I was staying in New Zealand for almost a year. Except for that, I have lived in Japan in my whole time. I was born in Yokohama, and I raised in Hachioji, Tokyo, and I lived in Japan all my life.
This is Asami and Ami. Neither of them grew up Christian, but their stories tell us how against all odds they came to know Jesus through the kindness and vulnerability of other believers.
My teacher, who was in charge of taking care of students from abroad, she took me to church, and I went there for 1 year. But I never understood what people were saying or what the pastor said. I saw people hugging each other when they were going through difficult times and crying for each other and praying. They always welcomed me. They hugged me, and one old lady, she came to me and kissed my both cheek, and I was so surprised and happy. I had never felt welcome like that before. So I took a class of Bible study in the university, and there's a pastor named, his name is Stephen, and he invited the student to his church. And I just went there to get a point, a last point, because he told the student, if you go to the church, you will get the point. For the first time I came to the Solma, the wife of Stephen, she did her testimony, and she cried. And I was so surprised, because it's really rare to see someone crying after we grew up. So I was really interested in what made her cry. And at first they are so kind. Then it's not just kind, but they are like real family. They help each other. They pray for each other. They truly care about each other.
While Japan is hard to reach, it's not impossible to reach. That's why I want to meet Yoshiko Noguchi, pastor of Sowa Church. Sowa is a network of churches around the world. There's something a little different here about Pastor Yoshiko. He's sort of a rare example of a Japanese Christian who grew up in a Japanese Christian home.
私の両親は私が小さい時に、教会開拓の働きをビジネスマンとしていくつか助けていました。そういう中で私が育ったので、教会ということを聞くときの特に私は本当に自然に、本当に素晴らしいものであるということを体験しながら歩んできました。よく私たちの家のリビングにはいろんな方々が来て、食事を共にし、また聖書を開き、またいろんな人たちとのお祝いや、また楽しいことを一緒に過ごしました。そういう中で育ってきたので、本当に愛し合うこと、またイエス様の良き知らせを聞きながら歩んできました。
Yoshiko knew firsthand the joys of growing up in a Christian community, but that's not the norm for people in Japan.
本当に生活の中でイエス様を愛すること、イエス様を愛して共に歩むこと、互いに愛し合うというのは人々は見て、そして体験して学んでいくものです。あまり家を開放して人々を招いて食事をするっていうのはあまり見ないと思います。しかしそのように招かれて一緒に食事をすると、本当に自分は特別なものとされている、自分は愛されているんだということを少しずつ感じ取っていく。約50年前、アメリカから来た宣教師と、そして数名のクリスチャンがこの家で集会をしていました。実はその数名のクリスチャンというのは私の母だったんですけども、その私の母と、そして宣教師、そしてその母は私をですね、また私が赤ちゃんだったらしいんですけども、その抱っこしながら、この家で家庭集会を持って聖書を通して福音を教えてたんですね。その姉妹は50年前福音を聞く機会があって何回も福音を聞いてました。しかし音信不通になり約50年間出会いがなかったんです。戦うことはなく、そしてこの数年前、この姉妹はもう一度ですね、クリスチャンのコミュニティに出会うんですね。そしてもう一度教会の集いに来るようになり、そして去年その娘さんが洗礼を受けて、そして今年姉妹とそしてご主人がイエス様を信じる信仰で導かれて洗礼を授けることができた。50年以上もこの一人の人がイエス様の愛をし、はい、私はイエス様に従いますと50年かかった。そのように日本の地は
Bible prophecy predicts that conflict in the Middle East will affect every living person on earth, including you. But when?
The final battle for Earth is often called the Battle of Armageddon. Even that name calls up alarm and fear. Said with the right voice, it can shake you, and frankly, it should.
This battle will occur in Jerusalem as armies fight against the returning Jesus Christ. Understanding history and the prophecy about the Middle East are key for spiritual preparedness in your life. Watch When Will Peace Come to the Middle East now at BeyondToday.tv. You need to know what your Bible says is going to happen.
BeyondToday.tv TV. That sounds intriguing. I might save that for another day. BeyondToday.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need with full business functionality and a design tailored just for you. Customize every element of your website and watch your vision come to life.
本当に硬いようなこの日本の地ですけども、主は確かにこの国の人々を愛し、選びの全ての民を主は救ってくださるということを信じて、私たちは継続して。
So what does your life look like when every day you're surrounded by intense spiritual need for the gospel?
I'm around all these people, and I know that as we look out this window, right, or if you're on top of a high building, you can look at every bus, every car, every person, even below the ground there's people. Every window, every office building, 99% statistically are on their way to a Christless eternity. And daily when you're around that, when you're going to buy groceries next to people, I mean, when you're going to the post office and running into neighbors, like it impacts you, right?
This is Chad Farmer, a pastor planting a church in the heart of Shibuya. As an outsider who has lived here for some time, he has seen the need for gospel workers in Japan.
At the church in Osaka, there's a story of a man who came to the church. He sat and he heard the word of God being preached and he heard the gospel in his peers because he said, finally, in my late 60s, finally, was my whole life. I knew there was a God. And I've been trying to find someone to tell me about it. Paul writes in Romans, I make it my mission to preach the gospel where it hasn't been heard, lest I lay it on someone else's foundation. But after that, he says, as it is written, those who haven't heard will know him, those who haven't seen will understand. And to me, that's the thing. We need more messengers. We need more people telling. We need more people loving Jesus, growing in their faith, being a part of the local church, and sharing the gospel of Jesus. We need more churches.
Sharing the gospel in Japan can sometimes involve thinking outside the box, and that can be difficult in a culture that really values the box. But just because most Japanese people don't believe the gospel doesn't mean they wouldn't consider it if they met a Christian friend who could explain it to them. The gospel is only effective when it is shared. It means some of us are called to do just that.
So my husband took me to this church, and at the time he was only a friend. And when I first came to this church, I remember that Pastor Jay and my husband explained 三位一体の神様っていうのを説明してくれて、その時は本当にショックを受けたし、この人たちってこんなに優しくて親切で素敵だけど、でも一方でこういうものすごいことを信じてるんだなっていうのが常識としてあって、自分はあんまり正直関わりたくないかもしれないって思いました。その人たちとっていうより、その考え方に対してちょっと距離を置きたいかなっていう気持ちがありました。さっきも言ったけど、周りから理解されるのがすごく難しい。なかなか神様っていうものを、神様を信じるとか他人を愛するっていうことに対してあんまりオープンじゃない日本の人は。教会って言った時にすごい壮大な建物を思い浮かべたり、危ない新興宗教にも同じように教会って名前がついてるところもたくさんあったりして、歴史として学ぶキリスト教とその私たちが身近に宗教として受け入れる。日本人が宗教に持ってるイメージがなんか警戒心がすごい強いと思うんですよね。宗教って聞いたら Japanese doesn't know how to love each other. Maybe it's really rare to say I love you とか、some people feel embarrassing thing to tell love to someone each other. So I want you to pray that all Japanese can accept the love of Jesus to be loved. Maybe this is the first step to know about Jesus. 家族とか友人が、私が聖書とかキリスト教について話すときに距離を置かれてるなっていうふうに感じることがあります。はっきりと私には宣教しないでねっていうふうに家族から言われたこともあるし、友達からもそうやって言われたことがあるし、自分のその根っこにあるイエス様への信仰っていうのを本当に大事な家族である家族だったり、友人と分かち合うことができない、信仰上の課題とか祈りあったりだとか、そういったことができないっていうのは本当に寂しく感じますね。There are many difficulties to be a Christian in Japan, but even if I'm denied by someone, but I can't stop believing in Jesus because He loves me and He saved me. He saved me in many ways. So, of course, there are many difficulties, and someone will leave me because I'm a Christian. But being Christian and believe in Jesus and listen to His words is much more valuable というか。
Even though Japanese culture can emphasize conformity, it doesn't mean it's boring. Beauty is everywhere. Japanese art is born out of struggle and hurt, and Japan is no stranger to hurt. But even with all this brokenness, a broken world is healed by a broken Christ on a broken tree.
Have you ever seen those polls where like
looks like end of the line.
Hey, I'm Savannah Lee, and I'm a Next Pro artist on SoundCloud. I love how Next Pro lets me distribute my tracks to all the different platforms at once.
Hi.
No, she's a computer genius. She saved my life. No. So, you know, the story is, but that chart, I only use it probably less than 20% of the time. So in other words, we do the rallies and stuff. Sometimes I'll pull it down, sometimes I won't, because I do things a little bit at random while I'm up here. Hello, look at a big fellow back there. But I do things a little bit at random. But two things about the chart. It's always on my left, which means I'm gone. It's always on my left. If it was on my left, I have Mr. Governor, Mr. Future Governor. I have no chance, because it would have been perfect. Perfect hit.
I'm confused.
On. I love that chart. I'm going to sleep with that chart for the rest of my life, that chart. That chart. You know, the amazing thing, you know, the people that operate the computers and all the brilliant equipment we have backstage, she said to me, she's great, she's great. She should come out. Just tell her to come out here for a second. Quick, you gotta get her out. She's never done this before. She saved my life, in a sense. I said, you saved my life. Here she is. Wow. Whoa.
Hi.
No, she's a computer genius. She saved my life. No. So, you know, the story is, but that chart, I only use it probably less than 20% of the time. So in other words, we do the rallies and stuff. Sometimes I'll pull it down, sometimes I won't, because I do things a little bit at random while I'm up here. Hello, look at a big fellow back there. But I do things a little bit at random. But two things about the chart. It's always on my left, which means I'm gone. It's always on my left. If it was on my left, I have Mr. Governor, Mr. Future Governor. I have no chance, because it would have been perfect. Perfect hit.
Man, I say a lot of things, man. Alright, well, end of the night. Tie-tie.